Wait a freaking minute. So Big 47 says Donald Trump. Y'all know Big 47. Big President Trump. He says, I'm pleased to announce that the former ICE director and stalwart on border control, Tom Homan, will be joining the Trump administration in charge of our nation's border. The borders are, including but not limited to, the southern border, the northern border, all maritime and aviation security. I've known Tom for a long time, and there's nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all our deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. Congratulations to Tom. I have no doubt he will do a fantastic and long awaited for the job.
Nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. Congratulations to Tom. I have no doubt he will do a fantastic and long-awaited job. So here is just your reminder that Tom Homan is somebody who really stands up for the principles of a closed border and for legal immigration. Here is Tom Homan, for example, facing down 60 Minutes over some of the deportation issues back in the day.
The refrigeration school. If you want to change your life, change your career.
Excuse me.
It would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
He's not playing. Whoa, that's not even a laughing matter. But in terms of fentanyl, that's not a laughing matter either. Yeah, that's not these middle schools and high schools being infested with fentanyl and children overdose. That's not a laughing matter either, though, you know?
Okay, so if you thought that Trump was not serious about deporting a large number of people, he's serious about deporting a large number of people. Tom Homan is the most serious person for border czar that we've seen in generations in the United States. Here, for example, is Tom Homan facing down the venerable intellect Alexander Ocasio-Cortez in Congress just a few years back.
AOC.
Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo?
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation?
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
She's got a point.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their...
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman, with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, go through the port of entry, do it the legal way.
So that guy is the new border czar. Get ready, gang. Get ready. Trump was not joking.
Hey, yo. And AOC is a fierce mama jama. Excuse me, but she's fierce. And he is not playing. And again, I don't want to seem like I have some kind of humor in this situation. But then again, some people have families being split up, and that's something to not play. I come from a refugee family. Yes, we are now naturalized citizens. So I'll never try to demean or condescend that. But what I'm trying to say is something got to be done about fentanyl. Yes, something got to be done about fentanyl. And he seems like Tom Homan. He seems like the guy. I'm not going to lie. When I look at him, I'm like, okay, that fentanyl might, listen, some blue pills when he's on the way, you know what I mean? Blue pills would hate to see him coming.
He was talking about closing the border and taking seriously the issue of illegal immigration. That was not Trump's only announced pick over the weekend. He also announced Elise Stefanik would be his choice for the UN ambassador role. That's a great job. I mean, honestly, if you have to pick any job in American government, UN ambassador is a fantastic job because that is a job where you have a very nice apartment in New York City, and then you go over to the UN, which is a repository of all human scum, and you yell at dictators all day. It's a pretty phenomenal job. Elise Stefanik happens to be an excellent candidate for this position. You'll recall her standing up to anti-Semitism on college campuses just a few months ago. Here she was versus a bunch of university heads, asking them whether it in fact was anti-Semitic to allow chants like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, calling for the elimination of the state of Israel. Here was Stefanik just a few months back.
I will ask you one more time. Does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Harvard's rules of bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
Claudine Gay of Harvard, who was the person on the other side of that clip, she ended up losing her job over it, also thanks to the intervention of Chris Rufo, who uncovered a bunch of plagiarism, which gave Harvard the excuse to boot her out the door. So these are all excellent picks. Now, Trump did come out, and he said that Mike Pompeo, who is his former Secretary of State, and Nikki Haley, his former UN ambassador, would not be part of the administration. There's a lot of speculation this means a sea change from Trump foreign policy 1. Okay, let me make very clear. 75 million people voted for Donald Trump's foreign policy. That is what they voted for. They did not vote for a completely different foreign policy that radically shifts how Trump did foreign policy in term 1. The best thing about Trump 1 was his foreign policy. The reason that Pompeo and Haley aren't in is because they personally pissed off Trump. Let's be clear about this. Nikki Haley ran against Donald Trump and proceeded to say a bunch of very not nice things about Donald Trump. And so Trump wasn't going to have her in the administration anyway. Mike Pompeo, of course, had been questioned after January 6th, and he had said some things that presumably Donald Trump did not like very much after January 6th. And then he also suggested after the Mar-a-Lago raid that might have been legally appropriate. And so there are some serious questions about sort of the personal relationship between Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump. But anybody who is seeking to shift that into Donald Trump is now going to pursue, say, Pat Buchanan's foreign policy. I'm not seeing the indicators of that from any of the people who are currently being talked about for high positions in the administration. In fact, Bill Hagerty, who is being discussed as the possible Secretary of Defense or possible Secretary of State, he was on the national TV shows. Hagerty is, I would say, more conciliatory on the Ukraine issue than some people who are more hawkish like I am. But Hagerty points out that when it comes even to issues like Ukraine, Trump will find a way to get that done because Trump does not want the United States or its allies to lose in that exchange. Here was Bill Hagerty talking about Trump and Ukraine.
The one skew that...
Sorry.
So Hungary's prime minister has said that Donald Trump has told him he will cut off support to Ukraine. You are saying here, I think, in the new Congress, there will be no more aid to Ukraine.
I've certainly not voted for any aid.
I know you haven't.
And I think President Trump will find,
is that the mandate?
President Trump will find a way to deal with this. I'm not going to get ahead of him. I'm certain that he's going to find a way to navigate this that's in the interest of the American people and will stop the carnage. Look, what's happened in Ukraine is terrible. People are dying. They continue to die.
Again, that's a very Trumpy foreign policy, right? He's going to move toward stopping this. He's going to do so without increasing the amount of aid to Ukraine in any marked way. But it's also true that both J.D. Vance and President Trump have suggested that in the absence of any sort of agreement, the United States can't just let Vladimir Putin walk into Kyiv. Hagerty also pointed out that we are seeing sea changes in the Middle East as soon as Trump was elected. As soon as Trump was elected, Qatar decided that they were going to expel Hamas terrorists from their country. Now, those Hamas terrorists are probably going to end up in Turkey, and it would behoove the United States and its allies in Europe to make Turkey pick whether it likes Hamas or whether it likes being a member of NATO. But here was Bill Hagerty talking about the environment in the Middle East shifting because Donald Trump is president, which is clearly and obviously true.
I think what we've seen just break out again in the past 70 plus hours since President Trump won the election, Hamas is now looking for total peace. So I think the environment has totally changed. No, they've announced they'd like to see peace. They'd like to see peace in Gaza.
The domino effect of Trump. The domino effect of Big 4-7.
Let's see
you believe that there will be a hostage deal negotiated under President Trump?
I'd like to see what Hamas means by this statement, but it seems that the entire environment is shifting right now because they see new leadership coming in, and I'm encouraged by that, and I think we'll have new opportunities.
From the youth to foreign countries, they waking up.
To, again, President Trump was able to deliver peace through strength. I think that's on the way, and I'm optimistic what it might lead to.
That is correct, obviously. Peace through strength is Trump's byword. I mean, he was on the show a couple of weeks before the election, and he rejected the sort of neo-isolationism in favor of peace through strength. That is what 75 million people voted for. By the way, even on Ukraine, the Washington Post is reporting President-elect Trump spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday, the first phone conversation between the two men since Trump won the election. During the call, which Trump took from Mar-a-Lago, he advised the Russian president not to escalate the war in Ukraine and reminded him of Washington's sizable military presence in Europe. And this is not a surprise. Trump has said this stuff openly. Pretending that he hasn't is really, really silly. The two men discussed the goal of peace on the European continent. Trump expressed an interest in follow-up conversations to discuss the resolution of Ukraine's war soon. The call, which had not been previously reported, comes amid general uncertainty about how Trump will reset the world's diplomatic chessboard. Here's what's going to happen. Trump is going to use the credible threat of force in order to ramp down conflict around the world. That is the thing that is going to happen. Okay, so just get ready for it, because that's precisely what is going to happen. As the Wall Street Journal points out, the U.S. hasn't been feared enough overseas during the Biden administration, according to Trump's advisors. By showcasing American economic and military might, the second Trump presidency should bring peace, or at a minimum, prevent further escalation in Ukraine, the Middle East, and beyond. Trump's former National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, who has also been discussed as a possible Secretary of Defense or National Security Advisor or Secretary of State, says it's going to be a return to peace through strength. Deterrence is going to be restored. American adversaries understand that the things they've gotten away with over the last 4 years will not be tolerated any further. Well, O'Brien obviously is correct. Let me tell you something else.
My boy Ben Shapiro be cutting it up, but what do y'all think so far about the vicious new border czar? We actually have a border czar now. We had a border czar, but somehow we reached a record high fentanyl epidemic somehow. Wow, why do you keep talking about that? Because here in Arizona, you would understand why. When you see 14-year-olds walking around like zombies, you would understand why. You would get it. You would. So what do you guys think about, what do y'all think about that? Hopefully, he doesn't sound like he's here to negotiate. I know it sounds very severe with the ripping families apart, and I come from a refugee family as well. And we are now naturalized citizens, so I can't act front like I'm somebody new or better now, because that's not it. You get what I'm saying? We fled from famine, we fled from war, we fled from oppression, so I understand that. But at the same time, fentanyl is a threat to the democracy at this point. There's nothing like it that's just sweeping away a whole generation. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments.